Thank you, Bruce, for coming. Representative Williamson. No, you're not a minute late. You're a minute early. Welcome, everyone. Governmental Affairs. We have our esteemed colleague from the committee, Representative Hightower, here to present House Bill 87. It's in your folder, LC 286430. Whenever you're ready, Representative.
Madam Chairman, I greatly appreciate you giving me this opportunity to present this today. I know it was kind of difficult when we had to jump our schedule around, so I greatly appreciate it. What you have before you today is something that was brought to me from me and my constituents, just to give you a little background about the bill and where it came from. I know some of y'all heard this in the subcommittee, but for those of you that didn't, I'll give you a quick background and then explain to you what this is kind of doing. This exact bill was presented in 2004 by Lynn Smith. It passed the House in 2004 with a vote of 154 to 4, 154 to 6 then. But it passed the House pretty late in session, didn't have time to make it to the Senate floor for a vote. However, at that point in time, the elections director at the time in my area went ahead and made a voting precinct within a gated community based on the legislation they thought it was going to go through. That gated community has had a precinct within its property lines since that time, and I believe a little before that time. It came to light recently that the voting precinct that's inside that gated community does not follow the requirements that have been set out in law, because they're using the boundary lines of that gated community as the boundary lines for voting precinct, and current law doesn't allow for that. So what we were doing is the constituents there came to me, and when I say this is a very large community, this community is larger than 2 other cities in my district. This is a very large area that I'm talking about, and there's a lot of homes in this community. These people have really come to have taken ownership to their voting precinct. We had a town hall meeting back in the spring of 2012, and at that meeting I had members from the Secretary of State's office come down and were present. I had our county attorney present. I had my elections director present, along with 3 members of her staff, myself, and then the county commissioner that's in charge of that area as well. And at the town hall meeting we had that was solely for this issue, we probably had over 200 people show up advocating for us trying to reintroduce this legislation that's before you today so that they could save their voting precinct. What we've done is simply add another, what this legislation does is simply add another tool to local elections director's box. Right now, the elections director can use streets, rivers, church boundaries, public school grounds, public parks, and what we're allowing them to do is we're simply saying, if you so choose, or if you find a need to use the boundary lines of the gated community, then you can. And so all we're doing is giving them an added tool. They don't have to use it. It doesn't form any new precincts. It doesn't add any cost to the local, to any of your local elections director or anything like that. This simply just says, if you need this, you can use it. It actually may even help reduce cost if they want to consolidate precincts, like we're doing in my district. We're consolidating precincts, and they find a need to use this. It may help them and draw different lines for new voting precincts if they see that it's needed. If a voting precinct is established within any boundary lines of the gated community, there is also a section here that we added that we said that the gate of the gated community has to remain open for the full time during the election day for complete public access, not just for people who are going to vote. I mean, if y'all want to come to Carroll County and go in that precinct on that day, you could go. It's open for everyone. I'll take any questions that's made. And again, this is what we did is a bill was presented prior to in 04, and this is that same bill that made it to the floor then.
Chairman Powell. A. Powell.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. just one of the members.
Yeah.
Just one of the
Powell caucus.
one of the members of the Powell caucus. Gentlemen, you know, we heard this bill the other day, and quite frankly, it's a good bill. There shouldn't be any discussion about it, except for in the definition where you defined it as gated residential communities. There was a good bit of discussion, almost to the point that sometimes legislators get blinded by words, and using the word gated for whatever purpose brought up if you remember, brought up a lot of discussion. Now we've got several members of the General Assembly, and my concern is that this may draw away from the bill. And if it starts drawing away from the bill, it may not get out of the Rules Committee if it does such. And I want to know what your thought would be if we redefined everywhere in this bill where the definition of boundaries of a gated residential community, if we changed and struck gated and used possibly the words restricted access residential communities. Or any other definition you got that might be.
You could say, I believe, if we were to look at this, and Mr. Lanier, you could probably see if this would work, if you did the boundaries of the defined residential community. And I believe that may work, and that then you leave out the term restricted, because a gated community would be a defined residential community. Would that work?
The issue really comes up is the thing is community on the first that's already a problem. The fact that there's restrictions that you know, but it's problem. The whole country that's what we become. But really, finally, that's the reason doesn't really add much to this. That's what's bad. Bridges really the fact that we have public access to it. And restricted access, gated, any of those terms probably work. Sometimes I wonder if restricted access is not that. But that doesn't mean it won't happen.
Restricted. Yeah.
I do believe that there's a word for this.
I would hope, and in all honesty, and I understand you and I actually spoke this before, and I tried to come up with other terms as defined residential community, but in all honesty, when it broke down the issue that we're facing now, it dealt with the gated community, it dealt with the fact that they were not open. And so what we had to add in section 2 is that says when the boundaries of the gated residential community are used as the boundaries for a precinct and a polling place is established within such gated community for the use of the voters in such precinct, such gated community polling place shall open to full and complete access to the public. So if they do have it, there again we have to explain some things to people that may not understand, but that's why we put that provision in there. It is to open to full public access. Anyone can buy it. In this gated community, they knew that at the town hall meeting, because some people say, well, you know, why in the world would a gated community open themselves up to full access? In all honesty, that's how much these people feel about their voting people. They were willing to do just about anything to keep it local where they are.
What's your suggestion?
I agree, and I do greatly appreciate it. Yes, sir. And I greatly appreciate it. I do. I wasn't able to come up with a different term that would allow us to properly define it, what we're trying to do, and also get away from any connotations of a restriction. Just sometimes the word usage, I'll say I couldn't find a better word to use that would allow for what I'm trying to do.
Representative J. Powell of the Powell Caucus.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have the same kind of hesitancy. I know that you have properly defined it, but I also know that the connotation of the term sometimes raises hackles of people who feel like that they are being excluded or not included. And certainly we don't want to do that, because what you're trying to do is to be more inclusive by allowing people to vote close to home, people who may be inside that polling precinct. But you don't want to let a term get you negative votes when this is essentially a good bill. And I think that's what Representative Powell's talking about. And Jeff, you think that restricted access is not clear enough, or you think it's overly defined the other way?
What about the word security?
I don't want to belabor the point, but the front row caucus down here believes that restricted access doesn't have the negative connotation that gated does.
People have access to it.
You want to ask the
Things like-
question?
And our maybe
Well, you're welcome to ask the question of the sponsor if you'd like to. That's okay. Okay. Chairman Hamilton.
Amazing how we can make big deals out of small things. And my question is I can think of several areas probably in my district, for example, that do not have gates, but they're restricted. There may not be a physical gate, but there's a median, there's a guard shack, there's people there that you will be denied access unless you have proper whatever. And so, again, not trying to support this new term per se, but
Listen,
a fact of it, I mean, I can think of several places in my district that do not have gates, but they would be considered restricted access.
I'm open to the pleasure of the committee. This was done.
We're trying to help your bill.
And I greatly
Make a
appreciate
call.
it. I don't and greatly appreciate it. This was done for what we had going on in my local area. If restricted is better, and y'all are comfortable with that, and Mr. Lemieux thinks that would solve the problem that I'm having in my local area, then I'm open to it. And I appreciate the debate. Anything that helps the bill move through greatly helps me. I have around I want to say close to 1,500 homes in this area community. This precinct is 2-to-1 the largest voting precinct in my district. And these guys, they always turn out. They love their precinct. And I made a promise to do everything I could. So if you think this would go through better as restricted, then I'm open for an amendment if y'all so choose.
Representative Williamson.
Representative, I understand that what we're trying to do is accommodate the public, and I applaud your and accommodate the public by establishing effectively another geographic boundary. We talked about it in subcommittee meeting. So I too applaud you for the work on this. But would it not encompass large apartment complexes? Would meet the definition of this as well? Many of which are affordable housing complexes that have moderate and even low income residents in a gated environment. This would allow another arrow in the quiver, if you would, for the precinct polling folks to better define a area. And oftentimes these complexes, specifically apartment complexes, have convenient community gathering rooms that would present themselves as good polling places. So I think that if that does in fact pick up these types of residential housing complexes in the meaning of the definition of your bill, I think this is a win-win-win. I couldn't imagine getting any dissent on it.
It does, and I've been asked that question. It would open it up for that if they so choose. And again, we're not mandating anything, but giving them an added option if your local elections director and elections board sees fit they need to use. They don't have to. Giving them another choice.
Any other questions by the committee members?
Basically, what would the role of a homeowners association be at all? Anything?
No, sir.
Just give me room.
Well, once they approve, your elections director, if you chose to do this, I'm assuming your elections director, the process would be that they would go to that location and they would talk to homeowners association and say, we deem that you have an appropriate place for us to put a voting precinct. Would y'all be willing to allow us to have a voting precinct in your community? And the HOA would probably say yes or no. If they said yes, then they would establish the proper boundaries, and then on the elections, the gates would be open for full access. That would be a condition. And a lot of times when you have these areas, like Representative Williams was saying, these things are usually very well maintenance because of HOA fees and everything. So a lot of times these areas are much like when you use churches for voting locations. They're very well maintenance by the church. Accessibility is usually very nice because the people trying to get to church. Same way in this type of situation, you're going to have people that have really vested interest in maintaining facilities. A lot of times we'll be opened up to have a better location for people to vote. Once again, a community area along the apartment complex, if that happens to be the nicest place within the area, then we'll use that for their location.
Representative Mosby.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If the Powell caucus is for this, then I'm with that.
All right.
Thank you.
Anyone from the audience interested in speaking on the bill? Okay. Any closing comments, Representative?
If y'all do see fit,
Representative Powell, Powell, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chairman. This is proper time. I'd like to move that this committee do pass HB 87 as a committee substitute with these amendments on line 23. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, now you can make your
Now I wish to make
motion.
the following amendments.
amendment.
On line 23, scratch the word gated and replace that with the word restricted access. Y'all can help me if you would, but on line 35, the same gated, strike it and replace it with the same language, restricted access. Line 44, line 46, 45, sorry. 46, 51, 58. Anywhere else? Big garden. 2. Oh, up in the header. In the header of this.
Second.
Okay. All right, any other discussion by the members? Okay, so we have a motion to do pass by committee substitute. All in favor say aye.
Madam Chairman, got to adopt the amendment.
Oh, sorry. All in favor of adopting the amendments?
Now the bill as amended.
Thank you. Like sign if you're opposed. Anyone? Okay, now, thank you. Chairman Powell, J. Powell. Now, any other discussion about the committee substitute? Okay, then we are going to vote on, or do pass by committee substitute. All in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay, Representative, House Bill 87 as amended moves forward. Congratulations.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And the meeting is adjourned if we have no other business. Thank you all for attending.
Frontline Caucus, I greatly appreciate